Hi there, and welcome to the maze that is Paris' Charles de Gaulle Airport. I just got off this beauty from Hanoi, and now I'm heading for my next flight. Although not a series per se, this flight is bringing me to the US to start a small group of flights, which I guess really is just a series, which will get me a ride on 8 different US carriers. But first, we need to make our way through the transit procedures here. Travelers across the globe love Paris Charles de Gaulle, and by love, I mean love to hate. Personally, I disagree, but they do have a point when it comes to complaining about transiting from one terminal to another, or even just within Terminal 2. You see, Terminal 2 isn't so much a terminal as it is a collection of oddly shaped buildings which happen to be within close proximity to each other. I landed in not Terminal 2 but Terminal 2E, but not Terminal 2E but Terminal 2EM gates, and I needed to get to Terminal 2EL gates, and so of course I needed to go via Terminal 2EK gates. It's all very simple. As I navigate my way through all of this, let me welcome any of you that may be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best, and some of the not so best, airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing you full-time for the past 4 years. Check out my hundreds of videos, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to learn more about the channel. This French love affair begins now. People often say, the people are rude, it's dirty, it's expensive, it's confusing to understand. They say this about what, altogether now? New York City. New York is certainly not a perfect city, but most of the negative stereotypes about it are just that, stereotypes. And it's still, by far, one of my favorite cities nonetheless. My relationship with Air France is very much the same. As I make my way over to the L gates and then to the premium lounge, let me explain why. Air France can trace its roots back to 1933, when it was created with a combination of 5 smaller airlines. One of those airlines was Air Orient, and that's where one of the most prominent pieces of Air France's logo over the years came from. I do love these signs, especially the fact that they're only in English. Air France has multiple business class lounges at Charles de Gaulle, but to my understanding, you can only access the gates from which your flight will depart, so I'm heading to the L Gates lounge. It's not the fanciest or the largest of their portfolio of lounges, but it is certainly a comfortable place to be. I mean, give me a comfortable seat with a working outlet, a view of the planes, and an unlimited supply of cannelé de Bordeaux, and I'm a very happy camper. I think the food offerings in Air France's lounges are one of the things that they do very well, better than just about any other airline of the same caliber. The spreads are decidedly not extravagant, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a selection of food of a higher quality at any other business class lounge, anywhere. The spread is very French and very good. The lounge also has a Clarence salon and spa, and shower rooms which were nice for a layover between 2 long flights, though the shower rooms had the heat turned up to roasted human territory. Air France's much more modern history, I think, is defined by 3 things. In 2004, they merged with KLM to create Air France KLM, which also owns Transavia, and most recently a 19.9% stake in SAS. The second thing is the beginning of the profit-sharing venture that they have with Delta and now Virgin Atlantic, which allows the 4 airlines to coordinate schedules and fares across the Atlantic and share in the profits. The third thing is what I think might be one of the most successful airline marketing campaigns in a very long time. Launched in 2015, France is in the air. This campaign saw Air France reinvent its image from the ground up, at times playing with the stereotypes about them that have perpetuated for quite a while, all while having a really unique focus on airline heritage. Someone tell me if there are other true examples out there, but to me Air France seems to be the only airline today that paints itself with the same brush they were using decades ago, focusing on style, advertising with posters, making every aspect of the experience as French as freaking possible. Some might find it a bit much. I personally adore it. I mean, really, what other airline is currently selling vintage travel posters on their website these days? It's no surprise that they still make modern takes on them. While Air France introduced a new marketing campaign prior to the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, now Elegance is a Journey, I think it's a natural follow-up to France is in the Air. They spent nearly a decade updating everything about their onboard experience, from Christian Lacroix design uniforms, to seating on board, to champagne served in all classes, to featuring food designed by French chefs. You'll be hard-pressed to find something on board that is not distinctly French. I give Air France and also to an extent KLM a lot of credit for doing things like this in an environment where they could surely get away with a lot less. Now, refining that onboard experience is the name of the game. I could go on for an hour, but simply put, I love the Air France experience for just being so damn French and not being apologetic about it. These days, Air France has what I think is one of the most fascinating and definitely one of the most comprehensive route networks anywhere in the world, second only to Turkish Airlines really. Their African network in particular is noteworthy. By available seats, in 2023, Air France KLM was the third largest airline or group operating in Africa, behind only Ethiopian and Egypt Air, with more than double the number of seats as Lufthansa Group and more than triple that of IAG. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, there are a few ways that you can do so. A quick like on the video and subscribe helps the videos with the algorithm. You could join my YouTube channel memberships to get early access to some of my videos and access to all of my community posts, or you could check out my Patreon, where I post the most substantial stuff and can help you out if you have travel-related questions. Whatever you do, thanks for doing it. Boarding began around 20 minutes behind schedule, but we made up for that and much more in the air. Stepping on board, I was warmly greeted and headed to my seat for today's flight, 2A. The Air France A350s come in two different configurations, one of which has the brand new business class, the first row of which is often lauded as the best business class in the world. The aircraft for my flight was always on an A350, but the configuration changed back and forth quite a few times, and I ended up with the older configuration. That said, there actually was a part of me that was kind of more excited to try this seat since I've never been on this model before, the Zodiac Optima. There are many airlines out there that use a version of this seat, including United for their Polaris seats and Iberia for their latest generation seat. The seats are relatively narrow, especially near the shoulders, but for me, they're just wide enough to make the seat itself pretty comfortable, and the bed very usable. One of the other reasons why I enjoy Air France and KLM, and the way that they do things, is that they follow the hit-the-ground-running model when introducing new seats. For example, look at United Polaris, Lufthansa Allegris, or even Singapore's A380 seat. These are all seats that had quite a long time between announcement and rollout, let alone full implementation. Air France KLM, on the other hand, uses seats which are more off the shelf, but when they announce a new or improved product, you'll see it in the sky very soon. For example, these seats, despite the fact that they are the older seats, they've already been reupholstered with the new navy fabric. I had another premium economy flight with them recently on a 777-200, and was fully expecting the old shell-style seats, only to step on board and see that they'd already replaced them with the newest model. I respect an airline that just gets done these days. They're literally all printing money at this point, there's really no reason not to. The only thing they did miss on board were the overhead air vents, but it was kept nice and cool throughout the flight. Champagne was passed around, and soon after the safety video began on the oh-so-reflective screen. This version of the seat does not have a door, but there is a panel that slides out from next to your closed storage area, and with or without it, if you're in one of the window seats, privacy from your neighbors is solid. Even without a door, when sleeping, it's not that bad either. Let's get into the amenities on board. The duvet is the perfect weight. The pillow is plump and a decent size for relaxing or sleeping. The tray table itself is a bit small, but because of that support brace that you can see, you could set up your device to watch something while eating easily if you watch things on your own device. The amenity kit is one of the more practically stylish ones out there, and has the basics inside, including a pair of Clarence products. My only criticism would be the toothbrush just rolling around in there naked. I do especially love the attention to detail that Air France has with some specific items. This pen and its tip, for example. Air France's A350s feature the electric shades, which I am never a fan of. It's impossible to just get a quick peek outside without illuminating the entire cabin for a solid 20 seconds. That's if you can get the buttons to work. Soon after the seatbelt signs were turned off, very well-stocked carts started rolling down the aisles for the first drink service, along with an amuse of Comté cream cheese with hazelnut and pine nut crumble, along with cheese crackers. I paired that with the Pommery Brut Royal Champagne. Here's the full menu for today's flight. Note that the red prices on the wine list are my addition to give you an idea of the wine value on board. Of course, it is all free. Within a certain window prior to the flight, business class passengers are able to pre-select their main dish for the main meal. There are no additional choices, it's just meant to guarantee your selection and reduce waste. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if all airlines began taking orders at the time of booking, forcing you to place your order then, in order to reduce waste. It just makes sense. As always on long-haul flights, you're served a duo of chilled appetizers. Today we had shrimp with orange and honey vinaigrette, along with creamy butternut squash, with kumquat and carrot salad. This was served with arguably the best bread in the sky, and a small salad. A very nice touch that I don't think I've ever seen before in business was freshly cracked pepper offered with each course. As someone who consumes enough black pepper for a lifetime of heartburn on a daily basis, I enjoyed this. 8.3 for the starters, 9.6 for the bread and pepper. And if that wasn't enough, there was also salt and pepper on the tray. For the main dish, I went against my gut and selected the pork shepherd's pie with green curry and lemongrass sauce. Thankfully, the lemongrass was very mild and balanced, which is what I was afraid of it not being. Overall, it was a really delicious and hearty dish. I'm sure plenty of you might take issue with the name of the dish, but I wouldn't have changed a thing. 9.5 out of 10. For the cheese course, we had a selection of cheeses that I will not attempt to pronounce. You can read them in the menu. Followed by a coconut, lime, and mango baton, which I had with a calvados on the recommendation of the crew. 9 out of 10 for these two combined. I appreciate the portion sizes. It's rare that you're able to enjoy what is essentially a 6-course meal and not feel like you need to hibernate for 6 months after it. For entertainment, they had a very solid offering. There are around 300 movies on offer with plenty of TV shows and a really good moving map. I just really hate the super reflective screens. Let's talk about service. I have heard every negative word from every negative book used to describe Air France's service. Most of these words are thrown around by that big country sandwiched by Canada and Mexico, or the smaller island off the coast of Europe, and I can see where their impressions are going wrong. Air France service comes off as cocky, but if you give it a chance, just a very small, very quick chance, you may notice that it is not cocky, it's simply confident. Why? Because they know what they're doing. It's funny, I was about to write, if you're in search of endless small talk and a lullaby, this is not the airline for you. But in all honesty, I've had more pleasant conversations with crew, specifically on Air France, than any other that I can think of. Anyway, the service is efficient and polished. The crew knew their wines inside and out, and there are loads of small, thoughtful touches throughout the flight, many of which may go unnoticed. So yeah, it's very much a personal style thing, I suppose. Funnily enough, I think the purser on this flight was actually the same purser that I had on another flight that I filmed from Paris to Helsinki. Nearly the entire flight, it was bugging me because I felt like I recognized him. And then like 8 steps after deplaning, it occurred to me. If you have a negative impression of Air France, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but I would tell you to go into your next flight with them with a completely open mind. Don't assume they're going to act like any other airline that might be in your head. Just let them take care of you throughout the flight and you'll see the difference. I know the blanket looks really short here, and it is a little bit short, but it's mostly because the foot cubby goes on forever. This is one of the few times that I could not touch the end with my toes when stretching out when lying flat, and I'm 182 centimeters or around 6 foot. The bathrooms were clean throughout the flight and featured a couple of Clarence products. There are 2 things about the full experience that I think could be added to really bring it up there with the best of the best. Slippers first would be nice, but not a deal breaker. But a mattress cover really would make a world of difference, and they should have it, to be honest. As we were passing over Newfoundland, the crew began preparing what was sort of a brunch snack, based on the landing time. On offer was a puffed pastry brioche with roasted vegetables and basil cream, served alongside grapefruit and orange segments and a madeleine to finish things off. I think it's a great tray, especially considering this is the only option. So you need to make one veg offering that's going to appeal to everyone. I'll give it an 8.2 out of 10. After the meal service wrapped up, the cabin was being prepared for landing as we began our descent over the Great Lakes, coming in with beautiful views of Chicago's lakeside skyline.
Préparons l'atterrissage.
And so I really do just love Air France. This is not me saying they're the best airline, but I do think it's safe to say that they are now the best European carrier. Whether you agree with me or not, we can all probably agree that 10 years ago, if anybody said Air France was the best carrier in Europe, you'd be laughed all the way down to Switzerland. That progress and refinement in their offering as a full package is why I'm bringing them up to the top slot. I really do hope that you enjoyed this trip report today, which was an absolute pleasure to experience. If you did, please be sure to click that like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my twice weekly videos. I'll see you next time from the brand new Anantara in Ubud. As always, thanks for watching until the end.